Hi, everybody. This is Mike Ryan from Big Stick Bourbon here today to start our inaugural series. We want to interview veterans and ask them about their experiences in the military, what they learned for that, and how they carried through with that for the rest of their lives. So today for our first show, I've got our guest is Mike Martin, Vietnam veteran, lecturer, author, and speaker. And I want to welcome you, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. It's a real honor to be selected to be on your program. So I just ask away whatever you want, or if you want me to talk about whatever. So,
sure. So when did you first join the military?
So I'll tell a little quick story that I tell when I'm talking to the high school kids. I basically, on the early part of June of 1965, on a Friday, I walked and graduated from high school. The very next Monday, I started at the University of Arizona, there in Tucson, Arizona, as a freshman in summer school. Thursday of that week, I come home and I receive a letter in the mail from the United States government saying, "Greetings, you're hereby ordered, da 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 da."
You just won the lottery. Yeah, right.
And so I was actually, that's in 1965, that's before the lottery system. So I was in the original draft system. Okay. So basically that letter said, show up. And it was like about 6 weeks later, and I show up. I go through the process. They read my records, and it shows that I'm in college. So I'm a student. So they said, "Oh, you're a lucky son of a gun. You're going to get what they called a 2S deferment at that time." So there was a handful of us that got that. But the officer who was in charge was an Army guy, and he says, "See the color of my uniform? See the color of that uniform, that gentleman's over there by the door? That's Army green. And 1 year from today, you're not going to get a 2S deferment. So you do what you got to do, but you've got your 2S deferment for right now, and that's that." So I walked away. I was in college. I finished summer school. I started taking my classes the very next in September. And during the course of the next several months, I started researching, because I was a military brat. My stepdad was an Air Force officer.
Okay, so it runs in the family, like with a lot of folks.
So it was, my stepdad was military. My uncles are military. Most of them WW2 guys.
Sure.
My real dad, a bunch of them. Anyway, so I knew I was going to serve. I knew unless something physically affected me, I was going to serve. So the distinction was, though, that most of them and my family members were all enlisted.
Okay.
My stepdad came back home from WW2 and took advantage of the GI Bill.
Sure.
Went to college, got his degree, and went back in and got commissioned as an officer.
Oh, well, very nice. So
I saw the difference between being an officer and being an enlisted guy.
Right.
So
rank has its privileges. Yeah.
I was going to say that. And that's one of the lines I use when I'm talking with my fellow speaker, who happens to be an enlisted Army sergeant, and we talk about some of the stories, and he looks at me and complains, and I said, "Yeah, rank has its privileges," and yes, that's just the way that it is. Anyway, I found a program through the Navy Reserve that in 1966, it was actually late 65, and I said, "I want to be an officer." And he says, and the guy asked me, "Well, where have you graduated from college yet?" And I said, "No." And he says, "Well," and I said, "Do you have a program that I can get into?" And he says, "I got one program, and it's in the Navy Reserve. It's called the Reserve Officer Candidate Program. And what you do is," and he pulls out 2 pieces of paper, 2 contracts, lays them on the desk, says, "See this one here?" He says, "That one is for your enlisted contract.
Right.
If you make officer, which means that you would be graduating from college, then the other contract would go into effect and the first one gets torn up. But between now and then, you're mine. You're an enlisted guy. I'm going to send you to a little mini boot camp. I'm going to do the things that you do in the reserves, no matter what branch it is. So that's what I did while I was in college. I was a reservist, enlisted reserve.
Okay.
I went to a one active duty 2-week Christmas cruise out of San Diego. And then the following summer, they said, well, you're doing so well, we're going to go ahead and send you to the first part of OCS.
Okay, great.
And then, I came back after doing that 9 weeks in Newport, Rhode Island is where I went. Then I
So this
came
would be
back.
in what, the mid 60s by now? 63,
Yeah,
60,
we're 65, 66.
65. Okay.
Okay, 66 was the cruise in San Diego, summer of 67, the
Okay.
first half of OCS. And at the end of 68, I finished my last class at the university in August of 68.
So for everybody out there who's not from, OCS is Officer Candidate School.
Yep, correct.
Right.
Sorry.
A lot of acronyms. Yeah.
Yes, sorry about that.
That's okay. Yeah.
The switch flips, you know.
That's okay. Yeah.
So yeah, so at that point I finished my last class on a Thursday. I flew on Friday, and on Saturday I reported to the last half of OCS and completed it. And on 25 October 1968, I was commissioned an ensign in the United States Navy, and which is, an ensign is the same rank as a second lieutenant in any of the other branches. Now, the unique part of that is they said, and Mr. Martin, while you're up here getting your board, it says, we just wanted to advise you that you've also been designated and we're sending you to a 6-month school in Athens, Georgia to become a Navy supply officer.
Okay.
So that happened simultaneously. Then I got the orders, went down there, completed that, and that's that. So next question.
So yeah, so then what happened? How long did you stay in? Where were you assigned? What did you do for the next couple of years?
Okay, so the Supply Corps school was a 6-month school. Started in November. We had a little time off in Christmas. Came back. I finished in mid-May. The top 5 guys out of the Supply Corps school, 5 of us got orders to go to Vietnam.
Okay.
3 of them were going to be on board ship. 2 of us were shore-based Navy.
Was that you? You one of them?
I was one of them that was shore-based Navy in Vietnam at the Naval Support Activity. The other gentleman was down country in another assignment, and I'll go back to him in a minute. So the assignments for all the branches of the military in Vietnam were 1 year long unless you chose to extend.
Right.
All the branches except the Marines, and I know your partner's a Marine, but just tell them that we used to say that the Marines must have had a math problem because their assignments were always 13 months in Vietnam.
Right.
So
they were different.
We figured they couldn't count. So
So you spent 1 year in Vietnam. I'm
1 year in Vietnam, came back.
A lot of supply chain, yeah.
Well, I was assigned to the Naval Support Activity, and in English, what my job, when I arrived there, I was a 22-year-old ensign.
Okay.
I got assigned the job of trucking foreman for a fleet of 180 trucks and drivers that were taking all the cargo and the ammo that was being delivered to Da Nang to all the branches of the military.
Okay.
And I was the ramrod guy. I was the
right.
Guy
Get her
that was
done.
get her done. We had a stevedore officer that was there on the piers getting the things done there, and then we had another what we call the loading officer, because we never unloaded ammo at the piers. We unloaded ammo out in the harbor.
Right. It was dangerous, obviously.
Yeah. So we would put the ammo into barges or to these little mike boats little flat bottom boats that would take the cargo up to a ramp. We take it off there, boom, get it out of there. We never.
So obviously you did pretty well, and you spent a year there and then came back home, right?
Came back home because my duty was classified as sea duty, actually, for purposes of that. I was guaranteed a shore billet and my choice was West Coast. So I got a shore billet, and I was assigned to a Marine Corps base of all things, Marine Corps helicopter base, the one that's down in Santa Ana Tustin in Orange County. And
Sure.
I was there for about 9-10 months. And then the detailers of the Office of Navy Personnel, where they made assignments for officers, I got a phone call and they said, we just want to call and confirm that you have listed in your records that your hometown is really Tucson, Arizona. And I said, yeah, that's right. I says, why are you calling me about that? Oh, don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. And I said, well, and then I told them, I said, I don't want to be a recruiting officer. And they said, oh,
okay.
And they said, oh, don't worry, Mike, we got something special for you.
So what was so special?
Well, what ended up happening is I did get reassigned there to Davis-Monthan Air Force Base.
Okay.
Davis-Monthan Air Force Base is where the Military Aircraft Storage and Disposition Center is located, which is the boneyard for all services aircraft.
Right. That's the one you see in the movies with all the airplanes and
exactly
they're just baking in the desert, and the Transformers movies, all those. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. So I was there. We had a Nav Air contingent. My bosses were over in San Diego at North Island, and I was the number 2 officer there. And we had three civilians, and we had 35 sailors. And what we did was take care of the Navy birds that were there. And in emergency situations, we would take compatible parts that could still be used in the fleet. We'd take them off. We'd take them off a bird, make sure that they were good, which means we X-rayed them, then we packaged them and sent them out and fulfilled.
They don't throw anything away. They keep everything, and somebody will use it someday. Right.
Exactly. And we had fleets of birds there. The old Navy, the 50s submarine warfare, the World War II and others, birds that were looking for submarines.
Right. Props. They still had propellers.
They were props. They were called STUs, S2s, and then they had a bunch of different designations.
Right.
We were packaging those up because we sold a bunch of those to some of the South American countries. They became firefighting birds.
Right.
And interdiction birds for drug interdiction work and that kind of thing. So
so the military does a lot of things that people don't realize in the background. So you were one of those people that was doing all kinds of parts and transfers and engineering, probably seat of the pants engineering in the background, trying to make stuff work.
Sometimes our guys, we had all the different, aviation designated people were working for me. I had 35 of them, and I had a couple of chiefs and that kind of thing. So
for the last few minutes here, we're trying, put about 15 or 20 minutes in to get a good feel. So after you got out, what did you learn? What did you think about your experience, and how did it help you after you got out of the service?
Well, one of the biggest things that they teach in going through the officer ranks and just the military discipline and all of that, but leadership. Leadership is probably one of the best things that came out of that for me. Being able to talk on my feet, doing the things that you need to do to be able to problem solve and work a system, work a problem that you need to do the quick analysis and then move forward. I was very blessed. One of the people that worked for me at the Marine Corps base actually ended up leaving government service and went to work for a retired Marine Corps colonel who was a headhunter. So as I was getting out of the military in 1972, I called her up and says, hey, what's going on? They'll send us your resume. I get a phone call, and about a month and a half later, before I even am out, I get a call that says, get on the plane, come over here to Orange County. We got 4 interviews for you. 2 days.
Wow, very nice.
And I ended up, the one interview was on a Saturday afternoon, and I'm down at Newport Beach, California, on Newport Isle, out in the harbor.
Right.
And this guy comes tripping in, He's in his tennis togs coming in to interview me. Here I am, coat and tie, looking
Right,
spiffy.
right. They
You
don't,
know,
yeah, that's a different kind of uniform.
Yeah. And so, so he says, Mike, I've read your resume. Thank you very much for your service. My name is Lieutenant Commander, blah, blah, blah. I was a naval aviator.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
I got offered the job on the spot, actually. So it worked out. I had to go in for a couple of more, rubber stamp interviews, but
Right.
that was with a little company called Xerox back in the day.
Sure. Know them well. Yeah. So what advice would you give young kids today?
Now the
People
young
who
kids,
are maybe a senior in high school or something.
this what I tell everybody when I speak to the high school kids, if you're number one, go to school, continue going to school. If you want to become an officer in the military, get a college degree because that's the minimum requirement.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily need to be in nuclear engineering or anything like that, but those kinds of degrees, they go fast and you get picked up, so there is a significant amount of opportunity and technology in the military today. And even more so than it was in past years. I mean,
Right.
for all the gamers out there, how would you like to fly one of our deals?
Yeah, the drones.
The drones. Yeah, the drones. Yeah, we need drone pilots like
That's
crazy.
right.
All of
Yeah.
the branches are using. Even the Navy's using them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's not a bad career. There's wonderful opportunities to move up. And as you said earlier, Mike, rank does have its privileges.
And even if you only stay in for 4 years or 8 years, it still sets you up for a nice path later on in life.
Absolutely, absolutely. The more that you do, those kids that are doing the right kinds of things, go ask people. There are guys that will talk to you, mentor you, that might be in the military. Go to your local American Legion. Go to your local Veterans of Foreign Wars. Go to your local disabled American veterans. There's all kinds of things where you can interact and interchange and be involved.
Yeah, just as a last note, here in Texas, I looked at the list just for the VFW post. There's close to 300.
Yeah.
Around just for Texas. So they're around. You don't see them, you don't notice them because they're not really, fancy buildings, but there's a small sign out front somewhere that you can walk in and talk to somebody.
Yeah, some of them are larger. I mean,
well, true.
I'm in a couple of them in the Spring area, Spring Branch area, and the VFW is a huge building. They got probably 10,000 square feet, 2 stories. That's the VFW. The American Legion's got about 7,000 square feet, and it's great people. And the beauty of it is, if you don't want to talk to one of the old guys, and we got old guys. I mean, old. I mean older than me, which means they're World War II and Korea guys.
Right.
We do have a few of those, but the young folks are starting to come in, and both men and women. So
right.
we got both flavors. Come talk to us. Get a hold of me through Mike, and I can set you up with an interview anytime you want. So, Michael, I appreciate.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Mike Martin. You're our first interview for our Big Stick Bourbon YouTube channel. We're gonna call it Big Stick Stories, for lack of a better term, and we'll find maybe a nicer name in the future. But again, thank you so much, Mike. We appreciate your service, and signing off for Big Stick Bourbon. God bless our military.
Amen. Thank you very much.